Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
Well, it is a beautiful Monday morning from here in Lagos. I'm Kaido Kyodo.
And a bright and cheery week. Welcome. I'm Ayo Makinde.
And good morning from Abuja. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf.
Somebody's gone through the week already. Okay, so, Lagos has equally announced that the schools will open on the 3rd of August after the PTF did announce that, yes, the schools can go on, but the state will now have to internalize how that is going on. But here's what Lagos State government said about schools reopening.
Who have the mandatory public examinations ahead of them will be permitted to resume for revision classes and, of course, for the examination. All educational establishments are to follow the established public health guidelines and protocols for the reopening. Students impacted by these directives will be in the transitional class of JS3, SS3, and Tech 3, the teaching, the technical education schools 3 as well. The commencement dates for this will be from Monday, August the 3rd, 2020.
All right, so not just after that announcement, after the first announcement by the Presidential Task Force on COVID, different people are putting out different reactions concerning what they think about schools reopening. Well, we did tell you that our cameras were out there, that some of you should try and talk to them and let them know what you think. But here are some of the views were captured.
This pandemic doesn't even recognize anyone, whether you are rich, you are old, you are young. So the government needs to, and the parents and wards too, have the right of refusal to say, my ward is not ready, I'm not sure what's coming to, but government needs to come up because we can't close school forever.
If other countries are closing down schools, and Nigeria in quote, that doesn't even have as much as those countries saying schools go and open, are we not joking with that? See, the governor said it yesterday in his speech that the possibility of community infections cannot be ruled out in Ekiti State, as most of the cases discovered in recent weeks have no travel history, and they also have no history of contact with infected people. And you are telling us to bring our kids to school.
Remember, we are opening only 2 classes, SS3 and JS3. We are opening them for a short period of time in order to get the revision classes done and for students to do their exams and pass and exit.
I understand the need to say we have to keep our students moving on. But the gentleman did not answer the question that what are you moving them on to? If you live in class 5 of, SS3, and you want to go and the universities are not open, so where are you going?
When I say we are experimenting, I could see some of his submissions hanging. For instance, when you say state governments are to ensure that 1, 2, 3 things are done, how do we ensure that they ensure?
COVID will go away. When do we start preparing for this? Only after COVID has gone away, end of the year, next year, who knows? But we know that COVID will go away. And some of the measures that we are instituting in the schools are the very same measures. They are the very same measures the rest of the general population needs to do.
Okay, so the views continue to differ on what to expect. So we did put out a poll and we're asking you to go there and let us know. Let the people know. Let us help the people know your views in terms of what you think about whether or not schools should reopen. As a parent, would you send your ward back to school? And as a student, do you feel safe going back to schools? Do you think it's safe for the schools to reopen? So we've got a day left for this poll, and that is what it is at the moment.
So let your vote count, as they say. I mean, this is quite important because you'd hear the PTF say from time to time that they rely on data and science. And I believe that this is also something they will need to consider moving forward. So there you have that poll. Simple question. Do you think it's safe to reopen schools now? It's on our handle at Sunrise Daily now. A lot of votes, really, almost 6,000 votes already. But obviously, if you haven't voted, please vote. And let us know why you think that option you chose, either yes or no, or you're indifferent, why you think that's, the best option. Yes, a lot of states are planning towards that. We have Lagos, Oyo. Some other states are saying, well, not quite yet. You have Edo, Akwa Ibom saying, well, this is not the time. We need to slow down on this. So let us know what you think. Is it safe right now?
And when you do vote, do well to drop your comment as well. We have very, very interesting comments. Some are saying, look, what are we going to do in school? What are children going to do in school? And some of the students are like, excuse me, we've stayed home for 4 months. Our lives are wasting. Our time is going. All kinds of, all shades of opinions here and there, but please do vote. Maybe government might find this useful one way or another. Of course, as you have heard, the Lagos State government has made its own announcement, or your state has made its own announcement, and a number of states have said no, not just yet. What's your own take? Add a voice. Markwe.
Well, I think another way to know what people are saying is also to just vote. Because, Twitter has an interesting feature where you see a poll and you really want to know, you're curious. Sometimes when I see polls on Twitter, I vote out of curiosity, especially when I think the question is interesting. I try to see what other people are saying, and, I decide what it is I want to say. And then you see where the pendulum is swinging. That way you have an idea. It's such a transparent poll. You do not even have to worry about, whether or not anyone is going to be rigging this. There is nothing to rig here. So it's just what you vote is what you see. And I think that we can lend our voices and make the votes count and ensure that, when this eventually comes out, we have a fair idea of how people or how the Nigerian populace is going to take the question of schools reopening. I know that the authorities have taken great pains to explain that they didn't say all classes should go back to school. That's not what they've said. They've said only the classes that need to move on to the next grade will need to go back to school, or those who are finishing a particular level will go back to school for the meantime. Even at that, do you think it is manageable? Is this something that you would like your ward to be able to do and finish? And do you think that we have enough safety precautions in place to ensure that, even when they go to school, they will be safe? I do know that those around that particular demographic, especially those who are very healthy and have no underlying conditions, will be perfectly fine if, God forbid, they contract COVID. But then you also have to consider the fact that these people will go home and meet people in their homes. Will the people that they meet at home, peradventure they contract anything, be fine if they contract anything from them? And do you think that even while they're there in school, they'll be perfectly safe? So I think that there are a lot of questions to be asked. Consider all the options and make your voice count, or make your voice heard. Let's leave it there, gentlemen.
Well, yes, indeed. So we'll look forward to that. So just go click that button before the poll runs out. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the dailies have got for you in a moment. All right, welcome back. Well, let's start with Vanguard newspaper today, and the lead story: industries hit hard as COVID-19 upsets forex market. That's what you see there. INE falls 22% to $22.99 billion. External reserves down 17%. Naira depreciates to 27%. Oh dear. Corporates besiege black market for forex needs. We're back at this again. That scramble for the Benjamins. But, well, there you go. It's, wow, 27%. That's a lot. That is a lot. Well, that's the big one there. And then they've got this pictorial representation, external reserves and forex turnover in INE 2019, H1 2020. That's what you find right there. And then, okay, some politicking now. Hard task for APC over zoning party chair. South moves to retain APC chairmanship. You don't shift goalposts in the middle of a game. Abri. It will shore up party's fortunes in Southeast Okorie. Our focus now is Edo Ondo polls, Namani. So you have them saying all of that. We hope they don't lose focus of the current reality, health-wise, that is. So, much as you see that one. 21 feared dead in boat's mishap in Benue, also featuring at the bottom strip right there. Let's take a look at what's on the back page. You've got Vanguard Sports there. Liverpool 2, Aston Villa 0. Okay, Reds bounce back, sink Villa into further trouble. Yeah, that's what you find here. So, stranded Nigerian chess master to write a book. Well, we do know that some Nigerians who arrived over the weekend, there was this information as to them having to go get hotels for themselves somewhere in different parts of Lagos, and then they had to return. So, who knows? We'll keep tabs on that and see how that eventually comes up. But then, today is also going to be a big day. I mean, airlines are supposed to begin functioning gradually. It's, don't forget, 6th of July. Oh, okay. So there you go. That's Vanguard today.
So as we prepare for that, reopening, a lot of people are looking forward to it, definitely. Take a look at what the Nigerian Tribune leads with. Some Christians exhibit reckless confidence. That statement is coming from the SGF, and it got quite a lot of people talking yesterday. And right under that, just to put that in context, you see what the Nigerian Tribune did here. Madagascar reimposes lockdown amid surge in cases. I mean, you see that. That's saying a lot of things without saying much. But, pages 2 and 30 of the Nigerian Tribune today. Do you want to ask about the...
I want to call the Madagascar president?
That's exactly.
What's that?
That one.
Okay.
Which one?
Which one exactly?
About that one.
Oh, the herbal...
Yes, something
mixture.
like that. Yes.
Well, we know that the government has come out to say, well, the major ingredient or the active ingredient is here in Nigeria, but a lot of people are asking, is it really that effective if Madagascar is going back, to lockdown? But you know what? Page 2 and 30 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And right under the big picture, you see Oyo Deputy Governor denied access to Ajimobi's 8th day prayer. Family apologizes, says, we didn't know he was coming. Widow to observe Islamic 130 days of mourning. That's coming from a cleric. As wives of governors and ex-governors are present. That's the picture you see right there on the front page. More details on page 3. But let's quickly bring you an update from Ondo State. Ondo lawmakers may begin deputy governor's impeachment this week. Well, that's right. You call the conversation around the governor handing over to his deputy governor. Well, here's a new twist. There might be impeachment in the works. Might be. But you see, CBN's adjustment of Naira rates will cause inflation. NECA, it's on page 25. And there's an update on the Wajime case saying, produce indicted soldiers for trial. Falana tells AGF. There's also been the talk around, and he has responded, but here's a new one from Falana saying...
So still going back and forth on that?
Yes. I mean, we don't really know what the position is really on that one. And, this just goes to talk about the poll, which we brought to you earlier on top of a nameplate. Anxiety as graduating students resume today in Oyo State.
Ooh.
Yeah, Oyo seems to be ahead of other states in this gradual reopening of schools. And you see schools map out modalities. We'll definitely be checking out on schools in Oyo State to see how well they're adhering to some of these modalities. That story starts on the front page and continues inside the paper this morning. And this one, new political movement conveners meet today to firm up steering council. I've been seeing statements from different people saying, I'm not a part of this, I'm not a part of that, but we'll see how it plays out. It's on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. This is the third force that people have been waiting for.
What about the previous force?
I was going to ask.
Okay, so maybe this is the fourth force.
Yeah, but maybe it's up to them. They might be able to tell people in terms of the fundamental objective of the previous force, what it achieved, how this may be a little different, or how this could take them a little further from what the overall objective is, because some members of that force happen to be in this one.
Yeah.
So does that one still exist while they are in this one? In normal politics, they might call it anti-party activity. But in this one, I don't know, maybe it's just coordinates activity. You never can tell.
You want to also ask yourself, okay, what has changed in the third? Is it the first third? Or are we going to a second third?
Third force 2.0, kind of. So listen.
There you go.
All right,
that's the Nigerian Tribune today, by the way.
The Guardian newspaper this morning leads with Nigeria gets 2021 deadline to stop Dirty fuel imports. Now, this one is really touching when you consider that according to this report, fuel exported from outside Nigeria exceeded EU pollution limits by as much as 2,004 times, and that's the kind of fuel we find in Nigeria. Why is that? Well, Nigeria has until next year to stop the fuel imports that are dirty. Government expands oil gas intervention fund to 135.8 billion naira. Find out more details about that on the front page, continues on page 6. Right under the picture you see there of palliatives being distributed in Plateau State, government warns churches against reckless confidence over COVID-19. That news, of course, is very popular now. Experts harp on risk factors and case fatality ratio, explain why Nigeria, Ghana, others may record lower deaths. That story continues on page 6. Also on the front page, WHO warns of increasing COVID-19 cases as African nations reopen gateways. Stories on page 3. Reduce drastically cost of governance or face economic debacle, says Clark. That story is on page 14. And on page 5 you'll find Benue COVID-19 committee vice chairman dies of virus. Not very good news, but that's what you have on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. On the back page, we have sports with technical committees support. Raw will make Eagles super again, said Danladi. Find out more details of that. Manchester United fans urge Ndidi to join Red Devils. Liverpool beat Aston Villa to win first game as champions. Newcastle United hold West Ham. More details on the back page. That's the Guardian newspaper this morning.
Well, let's quickly take a look at leadership. I was just spying on the comments, just beneath the poll on our Twitter page. You can go there too and leave a comment after you voted if you'd like to, and tell us what you really think, what your thoughts are. The thoughts expressed so far are quite interesting. Well, looking at leadership newspapers, you see there, COVID-19, more states suffer drop in internal revenue. That's what you see on the front page. At national prayer, SGF, Christian leaders seek God's intervention. Caution Nigerians against reckless confidence. Yeah, reckless confidence, how it's tagged here. Global daily figure hits 212,000.
Take a look at that Daily Trust, the very next one here. As banks rake in 22 billion naira. Now look at the list story on the front page of Daily Trust. Customers groan over multiple charges and taxes. What CBN is doing, how banks could improve revenue base, that's by experts. How about what?
Duties? I didn't see duties there. Stamp duties, ETC, multiple charges, taxes.
Mm-hmm. Duties might be some form of tax, maybe.
Yeah, it's a form of tax, yeah. So it's encompassed in the taxes.
It would have been nice to see that word again, because that's the new thing.
Don't tell me you've not been seeing them reflecting your... Wait. Are these charges selective? Because yours truly has been seeing a lot of it.
Maybe too much anyway.
That's why I'm asking. Why aren't...
Because you've not been seeing any receipts on yours, right?
Why isn't that word duties also there?
So maybe for charges, right there, charges and taxes, you find duties somewhere there, so...
I can't see it spelled. That's just it. Okay. Because, that's the new thing that, rents are going to possibly increase as a result of stamp duties on...
Why should they increase?
The FIRS put out that statement last week saying that, rents and what have you might start having that stamp duty. That's what they call it, so yeah.
So if rents are going to say how much is the stamp duty, how much will the rents increase by?
So maybe not substantially, but an increase is an increase anyway.
It is money.
Well, so now, if they're talking about banks raking in 22 billion naira, well, you may be so interested to want to see, okay, which bank is raking in what? So you might want to read the story. You should read the story. It's good to have information. Okay, well, maybe I should take a look at that pictorial representation there. It's titled Charges. Okay, now, the first on that is stamp duty.
Exactly.
How about that?
Yes.
Happy now?
Now I'm satisfied.
Okay. And then they have value-added tax, card maintenance fee, current account maintenance fee, annual card maintenance fee. That's not all. Electronic charges, Automated teller machine charges, that's the ATM.
Wait.
Charge for hardware token, fee for SMS.
There's card maintenance fees, and then there's ATM. How do I use my card without the ATM?
So there's a card and there's the machine. So basically, both of them have to be maintained
by me.
So more details actually in the Daily Trust.
I'm suspecting somebody has not been getting these charges. I wonder what he uses. What do you use? Maybe you should tell us off camera.
I'm complaining.
We won't dive. Oh.
There are two words, there are two cards there in that graphic.
You can always do a mail to the central bank if you have these issues. I think a lot of people have done those mails and they've gotten a response. So do a mail or head to Twitter and just put it out.
So while you're at that, you might want to see this as well, such that perhaps it may not be all doom and gloom. How we conquered poverty through laundry business. Still glimmer of hope, I might add. So that is Daily Trust today.
Well, that's some encouragement. Let's quickly take a look at the Daily Times for you. Ngige tackles NECA over 3.4 billion naira NSITF fraud, accuses body of complicity, insists DJ's suspension followed due process. Obviously, this is building up. More details on page 2, and that story about FG urging Christians, Muslims to intensify prayers over COVID-19. Were you a part of that fasting and prayer, the 3-day fasting and prayer? Well, if you aren't, well, obviously there's still the opportunity for you to do that. And right under the big picture there, you see troops eliminate 75 terrorists, rescue 35 victims. And just to put this in context, this was over a period of time. This wasn't once, but you know, there will always be that controversy. But you find more details on page 4 about the security issue. A couple of other stories, really. NMPC redeploys top officials.
It'll be interesting to find out why.
Okay, well, it actually starts on the front page and continues, I think, page 5.
You remember that report that went out? There's been a lot of talk about it.
Yes.
That's, financial reports.
Oh, the audit.
Yes.
Oh, you're referring to the NSITF?
No. The NNPC.
On NNPC?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So maybe this is related, maybe not. You find it in the Daily Times and, nice one there. Put me in a tricky spot, but we'll leave it there for the Daily Times this morning.
So there you go. That is a look at some of the dailies here this morning. We're back in a moment. Stay with us.
The phase 2 of the eased lockdown be extended with another 4 weeks with effect from Tuesday, June 30th, 2020 through midnight of Monday, 27th July, 2020. Specifically, however, the following measures shall either remain in place or come into effect. Permission of movement across state borders only outside coffee hours with effect from 1st July 2020. Safe reopening of schools to allow only students in graduating classes, resume in person for preparation for examinations. 5, safe reopening of domestic aviation services as soon as practicable.
Welcome back. Well, yes, after that announcement, different states have been coming up with their strategies concerning how the schools, how they will get back. But this morning, we've got Professor Shehu Musa, who is the Vice Chancellor, Kano University of Science and Technology, joining us on our studios in Kano. Good morning, Prof. Thank you for joining us today on the program.
Good morning, Chris, and good morning, Nigerians.
Okay, so tell us, ever since that announcement, there's been different reactions concerning what to do, what to expect, even from students, from parents. Well, now we've got you. How did you react to that announcement by the PTF about school resumption?
Once again, good morning, Nigerians. Let me first and foremost address some of these issues in a broader way before narrowing to the specific questions that have just been asked. It is a common knowledge that all over the world, various sectors of our, economy have suffered, including educational sector. For the last almost 4 months, school have been closed down. This is not only applicable to Nigeria, but it's applicable to many other countries of the world. No doubt time has been lost in this in our educational journey, and we really need to put our heads together to ensure that we come up with time-saving strategies that will be able to help our educational system forward. I think it's a good news that the final year students have been asked to come back to classes. I'm not sure if my presumption is right. This is dealing with final year students in secondary schools, and then those in junior secondary school that have to take their exam, and those in primary school 6 for common entrance examinations. The tertiary institutions may be difficult to manage only final year students because of the interlaps between at the different levels. While it's a good news that we really need to see to the opening of schools, we also need to work very closely, and I think this is important for me to mention this, that the PTF and then the NCDC needs to work together with the tertiary institutions and all other stakeholders. I know they have been actively engaged with the Federal Ministry of Education, which is the right step in the right direction. And I believe that for tertiary institutions, we also need to look closely as to how we can progressively move in this context. For example, social distancing issues, the use of face masks, the use of hand sanitizers, the use of thermometers to measure temperature, and quite a number of other issues. If you look at it closely, some of these can be addressed by the universities, but I think the issue of social distance, this is something that we critically need to look at it. It's easier for universities to provide face masks. It's easier for universities to provide sanitation items. It's easier to including the hand washing, arrangement, and then the the sanitizer arrangement, and then the thermometer. For example, my university have already come up and invented the solar-powered infrared temperature measuring device that can be used even where electricity is not available. I'm sure your station have actually taken up this innovation and have come out with automatic sanitizers, and the university have also produced sanitizers that actually meet with the World Health Standard. Now, these are easier to manage, but our problems, I think, from all ramification, the issue of social distance may be slightly difficult for universities to operate. Already the classes, especially for larger classes, you need additional spaces, and if you are to group them into, say, group
But could you tell us, when you say you want them to work together, what do you expect from them?
Sorry?
When you say you want the authorities to work together with you, your school, what specifically are you requesting?
No, what the point I'm referring to is if PTF and NCDC will work closely to understand the availability of the infrastructure and then the size of the classes, then that will now give us an opportunity to say, okay, this is the best way to handle the social distance issues. Like I said, from my understanding, the social distance is a major issue that will be of a big problem to tertiary institutions. If the use of face mask will now satisfy the condition of the social distances, I'm sure many universities will be willing and ready to open and resume classes. But if, however, the use of the face mask must be in 100% compliance with the 1 meter distance or 2 meter distance between students, this is where I see some challenges. This is the kind of information that I'm saying NCDC and PTF need to understand clearly. However, I believe universities are currently working assiduously well in terms of bridging the size issues. For example, online classes can be arranged. Virtually all the students are now having a handset with Android facilities that can easily allow them to hook into the lectures that is being delivered by
we get that point, but we're going to I'd like to ask specifically about what you are doing, the situation with your school at the moment. Are you comfortable to go ahead and reopen schools now?
Well, like I've told you, as far as pest marks are concerned, as far as sanitizers are concerned, as far as temperature measuring devices are concerned, I can assure you Kano University of Science and Technology is ready to move on. For smaller classes, Kano University of Science and Technology is ready to move on. What innovations that we really need, which already the university have set up a committee, post-COVID committee, which is being chaired by the Vice Chancellor, and all actors are involved. The Center for Information and Communication Technology, the Management Information System, and all other actors. We are now currently working on modalities of online lectures, and that will now decongest the real theaters and classrooms that you'll be able to work on. So I think from the perspective of Kano University of Science and Technology, I have just mentioned to you that we have invented these two equipment. These are the major equipment that are needed, at least to understand the body temperature of people and to encourage sanitation. So for us, if the social distance issues can be addressed by pest mark, like I've told you, the university will be willing to open even next week, actually. But if the social distance issue must be religiously applied 100% in terms of 1 person to 2 meter distance space, without the online arrangement, universities may find it very, very difficult to really adhere to those arrangements. In our own case, all the basic places, we can get this, deploy these facilities to be ready. So what we are now working, and I'm sure the committee is working, and fortunately for Kano University of Science and Technology, over the last 2 years, we have started what we call e-examinations. So all our larger classes, the examinations are e-based. So we have no challenges of actually doing the examinations at any point in time. We can take 2,000 students at a time, and I think that is a very good development. We are now trying to even deploy this
Just one moment. Just one moment, Prof. There's the question that the organization management has made these provisions, provided all of these facilities. You are concerned, however, despite all of the measures that you've put in place, about social distancing. Is there an arrangement by the school management to monitor social distancing among the students? Because, as you said, that's where the issue is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, there is arrangement on ground to monitor social distance, and that is why I told you we are now trying to deploy the online teaching. With the online teaching, you don't have to be in the classroom. You can be outside, you can be in Convocation Square, and you can access the lectures. And arrangement has gone far on this, and I'm sure the lecturers are also willing to see to the implementation of this. And I can also assure you that the student union government of the university is very cooperative in this regard, and we're working very closely with them to see how we can actually do with the issue of social distance. Other than social distance issue, I can assure you most universities can actually reopen.
When is your school going to reopen?
Hello?
When are you reopening your own school?
We have to get the detailed guideline from the Federal Ministry of Education, and and then we have to also get some guidance from the state COVID-19 management, and then the Ministry for Higher Education. We have to wait for their pronouncement, and that will now determine when Senate will meet, and then we'll reconvene, and then we can see how we can actually move ahead. This is not something that universities will take at this moment, individual decisions, until the broader framework is being provided for complete reopening of schools. When the guideline has been given by the NDDC and then through the Federal Minister of Education, and then we also receive the guideline from the State Minister of Higher Education, that will now determine when we can actually say that, okay, this is the exact date we believe that we can reopen the university. But I'm confident that if the NCDC can also assist, and then the PTF can also assist in addressing some of these challenges of social distancing, things can move fine and they will be all right. I'm not sure whether there will be a condition to say that, look, each university or each tertiary institutions must have 1 or 2 or 3 bed isolation center to get fully ready and fully prepared. In our own case, we're already thinking toward that. And in working with the governor of the state, Dr. Lamar Ganduji, that has been very supportive of the university, we're trying to see how we can actually have an arrangement within the university that can take care of that. I'm happy also, Mr. Chris, to also inform you that already under this COVID pandemic issue, Kano University of Science and Technology provided the facilities for the establishment of 2 isolation centers, one in the city of Kano here and one at the outskirts of Kano. The Sport Institute has been converted to an isolation center with 340 bed capacity. And then the Hospitality and Tourism Institute that is based in Kano here is being converted to an isolation center with 100 bed capacity. So specifically, Kano University of Science and Technology, we already have some kind of very good working relationship with COVID-19 State Committee in terms of the management of these isolation centers. But my worry is probably if there is the need for other tertiary institutions to really open an isolation
so I
center.
can put in this question. Right. You know, it's interesting to hear some of the measures you have put in place, but, you know, it would also be good to know what the university body, I mean, the universities in the country, what you have come up with, you know, working together, because there needs to be some form of uniformity across schools so that, you know, we won't drop that standard. So I don't know if there's a thinking in that line for the bodies of universities across the country. Is there a thinking as to the modalities, you know, the guidelines and what have you that are being put in place for uniformity's sakes? And also, I'm just curious. I mean, you've talked about having isolation centers in the schools. What's the worst case scenario you're looking at? Because data is quite important in this phase.
No, the case of the isolation center I'm mentioning is that NCDC and PTA will now determine that. If that is a condition for universities to reopen, I'm saying that will now be an additional challenge that needs to be addressed. However, if it is not a condition, then it's subtle the difficulties and the challenges that the university will be facing in terms of reopening. In terms of you know, working together, having a common scenario, it's going to be very difficult in Nigeria for all universities to start on the same day and end on the same day. But I believe there is a time frame for the first semester to be concluded and for the second semester to be concluded. And remember, we have a forum where all these issues can be discussed to look at the possibility of taking somewhat, a common decision for reopening of the university. We have the Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian University. This issue, I'm sure, whenever the committee meets, these are some of the issues that will be critically discussed. I believe all universities are trying to now key into how they can actually save time and to reduce the time lost that has already been
If I'm wrong, Prof, from some of what you've said just now, it does appear as though you're saying schools can resume, no problems with that when the universities do agree, but they may not necessarily have to physically be present in schools if you can latch on to the online learning platforms. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, what I'm saying is, now universities having found themselves in this situation. And universities are supposed to be centers of innovation, centers of technology development, centers of strategies that we can be able to address issues that we can even transfer to society. I believe many Nigerian universities are now looking inward to see how they can leverage on the IT issues to really address these issues. And partly, like I have mentioned, you can engage in all these online activities. Many universities have what they call distant learning centers, and this is the best time for distant learning centers to work very assiduously well for the universities. And all universities, I believe, have ICT and MIS arrangement. And all these are platforms that can be deployed fully to really address this issue. And I believe if the federal government, the state government, and all philanthropists in Nigeria can support the universities with the funding, in such a way that they can now expand on the deployment of IT in their daily activities, I believe it will go a long way in actually situating the universities and other tertiary institutions properly well in such a way that they can actually deliver on the mandate that has been given to them. This is a clarion call, as many actors are now supporting state governments on this COVID issue. I believe this is the right time to call on philanthropists to see how they can support tertiary institutions in terms of deploying IT facilities that will be able to drive the process. In our own case, I'm happy to let you know that the Chancellor of the University, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, is willing to assist the university in deploying IT that will help in the running affairs of the university. We already have some basic understanding with the Chancellor of the University. And I'm saying people should also emulate such gesture. Philanthropy should come to the aid of the universities for heavy development of IT technologies in our delivery, lectures delivery, in our research, in our community service, in our tutorial arrangement and examinations. I believe if universities would deploy IT technologies, we can be able to reduce the gap that is now, apparent in our educational delivery. More so, all proprietors of the university also need to come to their aid. And in that respect, I mean, all federal universities and then in that the state universities will all need to work in synergy. And I think this is the right time for IT agencies in Nigeria to come in. Most likely, we thank Tertiary. They have been doing a lot of work. The current years has done well in terms of research and innovation, and I think my advice to him is to see how they can further support universities in terms of deployment of these IT teaching facilities. And then the NIDA is also there. They really need to expand on the scope of assisting universities with the IT technology. The only way you now reduce this is there has to be deployment of IT. If information and communication technology is not rightly deployed, physical separation and other things may not work as effectively as we want. So it is high time for all hands to be on deck, for all of us to realize that we have lost time, and the best way to regain the time lost is for us to deploy IT technologies and to come to the aid of all tertiary institutions in Nigeria, universities, polytechnics, colleges of education, and not only tertiary institutions, but all tiers of education. Government cannot run alone the business of education, especially tertiary education, because it is an expensive process. So well-meaning people need to come on board. International organizations need to come on board. Universities need to work up themselves to come up with suitable arrangement that will enable them to harness the opportunities that are available virtually all over, both within the nation and outside the country. So universities themselves
at the moment, pardon me, Prof. At the moment, it does appear as though, yes, those are big asks. And one wonders, do you think that all of these things will be fulfilled before the schools are open? Do you expect them to? And if you do, when are the committee or is the committee looking to have some of these things all set before they announce the resumption of schools at that level, the tertiary level?
It is just recently that the interstate border has been, addressed, and the issue of air flight has just been, it will be next tomorrow, and not all over the country. And vice chancellors are from all over the country. And actually, you cannot actually risk the fact that everybody will now travel when there was the lockdown issues. But now that the interstate lockdown issues have been addressed, I believe the executive members of the relevant bodies will now make a suitable time for all organs to meet and to discuss areas of common interest. You cannot, jump the gun with the interstate, travel ban. There is no way you can assemble all the vice chancellors to work. But I know that most likely they will also deploy the options of video conferencing, and this is doable and is easier to arrange. It saves time, it saves cost, and I believe the executive members would do same. And apart from the meeting arrangement, the vice chancellors, most of us, we have some, point of personal discussions, and I believe we have rubbing minds with many other vice chancellors of Nigerian universities. So obviously, I think this is something that, with the ease of the lockdown at the moment, things will take better shape. And I believe universities will also take more proactive measures in terms of to see how quickly universities can reopen.
All right, then, Professor Shehu Musa, Vice Chancellor, Kano State University of Science and Technology. Thank you for your time this morning, and we wish you all the best as you work towards reopening.
Thank you very much, and it's my pleasure always, Mr. Chris. Thank you very much. Yes.
All right, then. Okay, so one other matter is of equal concern, still bordering on COVID-19, is that of Cross River State. So the NMA, the medical, the Cross River State government, the health community, they're all concerned about developments going on there. So right now we've got Dr. Betta Edu, who is the Commissioner for Health. She joins us via Zoom. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today on the program. Well, yesterday, news broke that the health workers there have gone on indefinite strike. They're not happy with developments in Cross River State. How do you respond to that?
Okay, first and foremost, not all health workers have gone on strike, but the NMA Cross River State that has gone on strike. And this is the second strike in a pandemic, and it's becoming really, very, very embarrassing to the association and indeed to our professional body, who we swore to protect patients at the point where we have a pandemic and there is a response to put up. One will believe that having brought all of them to the roundtable as key stakeholders and have supported even their institutions where 90% of them are to be able to respond, having trained them and done a lot of investment in that institution, that we would have NMA Cross River State come out fully to support the state at this time of a pandemic response. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It's been a back and forth. I'm sure you know the journey through the Cross River State COVID-19 response has been a long one. Once you bring out a policy, we started the No Mask, No Movement policy in Nigeria, and NMA came out to say the No Mask, No Movement policy was wrong and it was going to endanger people's lives. The mask provides no protection. Every minute you go a step forward, they write a letter, they threaten for strikes and all of that. And it's becoming really just a group of persons who have a platform and they're using it against the people of Cross River State, which of course as a government, we will continue to engage to see that we come back to the roundtable and do what is right for everyone. Progress on all fronts might not be at its peak, but of course, you know the different challenges that exist, but we'll continue to do our best to see that Cross Riverians are protected and Cross Riverians are given the best of care even during this pandemic.
All right, Dr. Edu, we'll be back in just a moment so that we can get more responses from yourself and all those concerned. So do stay with us. All right, welcome back. Let's get across to Dr. Agamayuk, who is the chairman of the NMA in Cross River State. He joins us via Skype as well this morning. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today on the program. All right, well, let's switch back to Dr. Edu then. Well, Dr. Edu, having looked through their press release, part of the reason they just felt that Cross River State government was not handling some of these cases properly, and they have treated persons who have contracted the virus, and they still wonder why the NCDC hasn't actually given a proper look from their perspective as to giving them a true picture of what is going on in Cross River State. You've seen their messages, haven't you?
Yes, basically I think I would want to start from this point. First, I'm sure you know as early as January, Cross River State government set up the EOC, and we invited both the NMA and indeed all professionals to be on board the emergency operations room so that we can dialogue, we can share ideas, and we can move forward on this response. They are part of the response committee. They're part of the response team. Not just doctors, but all other health workers, military, paramilitary, have been part of this response. We started as early as February to screen people who are coming in through our borders, both the airport, seaport, and the land. We shut our borders quite on time. We started the No Mask, No Movement, provided over 1.5 million nose masks for Cross Riverians. We provided face shield, PPEs. We have been supporting the University of Calabar Teaching Hospital and indeed doctors with both the N95 face masks and several other items which we have donated to see that this response goes on very well. When it concerns testing, remember that Cross River State is attached to IRUA, which is the lab in Edo State. And with the lockdown at that point, you travel for one full day with a sample to get to IRUA. Sometimes to get to IRUA, they say they don't have reagents. Reagents are finished. You need to wait for 1 or 2 days. And then, of course, before you come back to pick up samples, to get the sample results and have people travel for another one full day to get back to Calabar. It was a very cumbersome, expensive, difficult process for the state. And we kept saying that we needed the NCDC and others to come in and set up the labs. Remember, the labs cannot be set up by us. They come in and do the training, they come in and do the accreditation and all of that, and then the labs become functional. Okay, in this case, we have people who every single day, they call us, they say, come and see this case. We head down there, pick up samples, we send the samples to the lab, and of course, we try to do contact tracing immediately. We do surveillance around that area to ensure that people are protected at all times. But then you find them casting doubts on results that come even from the NCDC accredited laboratory to say it does not match what they think. This person had fever, and so if anybody dies of fever at this time, it should be COVID-19. It doesn't match what they think. You will find a patient who is a known asthmatic patient having respiratory distress, and then the next minute they say, oh, it doesn't match the picture. This person died of COVID-19. I've been in a ward, and I saw a patient come in and was abandoned at one end just to die because they suspected that that was a case of COVID-19. Several of these were happening. Now we said, okay, fine. If you find anybody who has suspected cases, please treat the person as COVID-19. The state government will take responsibility for the cost of treatment, treat the person as COVID-19, and will take samples and send to the lab. If the result comes back and the person is not COVID-19 positive, then you can now move the person back to the general labs. Of course, you remember very clearly at the beginning of this intervention, we're given very few sample collection kits. And then, of course, as a state, when we had to go out for surveillance and the rest of them, we needed to get a backup plan to say, okay, can we get an FDA-approved antigen rapid test kits that we can use for surveillance, quick screening, that can at least give us a picture while we go ahead to go through the long process.
Just hang on a minute. All right, hang on a minute, Dr. Jude. Dr. Ayu, from what she just said now, and perhaps before you even joined up, she stopped short of saying that the enemy is crying wolf where there is none.
Well, thank you very much. For us as an association, we remain committed to the welfare of our members and the public. And the health issues should be taken very seriously, and politics should not be played with the health of the people. Well, we have said that the NCDC have not updated updated the 5 cases that were confirmed from an NCDC accredited laboratory in Abakaliki into their situation report. That result was ready as far back as July 1st. It was transmitted to the hospital, the UCTH, as of July 1st. And I think the Commissioner for Health and His Excellency, the Governor of Cross River State, were given those results on the 2nd. And as we speak, that has not reflected in the NCDC platform. And from what we are being told, the state government has refused to assign state code numbers, epidemiology numbers to those samples that had been analyzed and results sent. And because of that, they cannot update those results into the NCDC platform. For us, we think that it is still part of the plan to remain the deceit in ensuring that the right things are not done. We have gone through a lot to get to where we are. We needed evidence, and a lot had been done. And God willing, NCDC noticed that there was a problem and declared GCTH an independent test center. And that was how they sent in samples, sample collection kits on Sunday, 28th of July. And the first samples from 5 patients, including 2 doctors, were sent on Monday, July 29th. And on Monday, June, the samples collection kits were received on June 28th, and the first 5 samples were sent on June 29th. And on July 1st, the results were transmitted to the ECTH management. And of course, since then, NCDC has refused to update those results in their daily situation report. And we think that something is going wrong. We needed evidence, we have the evidence, and NCDC is refusing to update that. And we are worried. And of course, we can't sit back, because the implication of not updating their data is that the other processes that will follow will not take place. For example, contact tracing will not start. The state government have not activated the isolation center at Adiabo because the excuse is that there's no confirmed case. So those are some of the things that we are carrying foul.
Doctor, just to be clear, yeah? Are you saying that Cross River State has recorded at least 5 cases of COVID-19 so far? And we wonder, what happened to those cases? Were they treated? Have they been discharged? What exactly is the situation of those cases?
The 5 cases which have been confirmed using the PCR test, which is the gold standard for COVID-19 tests, we had 2 patients who were already on admission at the UCTH Isolation Center. We had 1 patient who was billed for ENT surgery, and two patients who were medical doctors who had respiratory symptoms. As we speak, the 2 doctors who I had direct contact with, I said yesterday night I called them, have you been contacted by anybody for contact tracing or anything? And they said no, they are all in their houses on self-isolation. Nobody has done anything. And we are crying aloud and saying that cannot be allowed to continue. We have patients who come to UCTH. UCTH only has capacity of, the isolation unit has 5-bed capacity. And we have patients being turned back because that center was meant for very severe cases that need a lot of attention. And that is not happening. So patients are being turned back. People are dying in their homes. People are being sick in their homes. We have a lot of doctors right now, as I speak, isolating themselves. Some have recovered from the illness because the state has suppressed testing. And without testing, whatever effort they have made it. At the beginning of the pandemic, we commend the efforts that were being made on primary prevention. That means don't allow any case coming. But of course, with the porous, those efforts did not, despite the good intentions, we still have people still coming in, legally or illegally. And they were supposed to tune in into the second phase, which is secondary prevention, where you now have to test people early and prevent possible severe illnesses. And that is what they have refused to do. And we have gone the extra mile to ensure that we have that evidence to back up what we have been saying for weeks.
Hang on, Dr. Ayuk. Let me bring back Dr. Edu on this matter. Well, Dr. Edu, yes, much as they acknowledge the good works that the state has done at that point, but could you tell us what is the situation about those 5 cases which you just spoke about?
Okay, so it's really very sad that the NMA Cross River State is going on an indefinite strike to put the lives of Cross Riverians at risk for upload of results or no upload of results. First and foremost, we were not informed about any of this. They said they are an independent center, and they went ahead to send samples, which we do not know if they sent or they didn't send. We don't know anything about it. The claim is that samples was sent to Ebonyi State, and that they got results back from Ebonyi State. As a state, we do not have powers over Ebonyi State to announce anything from Ebonyi State or stuff like that. If we are brought into the picture, we don't mind if you're the one taking samples or if you're the one sending samples. But if you're brought into a picture, they are written public health procedures and responses that should take place for a sample to be verified and then, of course, moved from one point to the other, being transparent. There are verified principles that you must follow. Number one, you should be able to at least identify who the patient is. Secondly, you do a history taking, and then of course you write it down in the case finding forms. And then after that, you fill all the required forms. And if the person meets the criteria according to what NCDC have written, then you take samples, you issue to the person an ID number and then an EPIC number, and then you send these samples in a perfect situation. Of course, the Joxter boards and all what is needed, the sample collection kits full, and then you send it to the lab where you can trust the integrity of that sample. The sample gets tested, and then the results are brought back, and then the results are uploaded. This is the normal public health response and procedure anywhere in the world. So I don't know why they would not want to go through that procedure, and then you declare a strike in the name of they did not upload your results. That's the reason to kill people in their numbers. That's the reason to
Just one moment, Doctor. I don't know if you would agree that they have genuine concern, because according to a statement from the Chief Medical Director of the University of Calabar Teaching Hospital, they said that those 5 samples returned positive and that they have duly informed the Cross River State government and other agencies of government. Are you saying you're not aware of this?
Okay, so up until this minute, no information was given to us except for a call by the CMD to myself, who said that 5 samples that they sent. We said, when did they send it, who, and all of that. We're not given that information. Say 5 samples that they sent returned positive. We said, okay, fine, great. Can we have this? And then we're transferred names of 5 people, no phone number, no contact, nothing. I even spoke with the CMAC. I said, can we get at least the contact of this person so that at least we verify who they are, and then we can carry on with contact tracing while every other issue that should have followed a public health response is being sorted out. Every day in Cross River, we go on radio, we go on TV to announce to our people. I went through over 30 churches yesterday announcing that we have a testing center at the Lawrence Henshaw Memorial Hospital, which has been accredited by NCDC. You can come in and get tested.
Honorable Commissioner, that's understood, but I wonder if you're implying that maybe the NMA or the hospital are being deceitful in this sense, saying that there are 5 cases when there are none. But you recall that the NCDC DG said one time that, you know what, there is no state in Nigeria that does not have COVID-19. So do you still stand by that, that's your statement that Cross River State is COVID-19 free? Because for the enemy, there are at least 5 cases in Cross River.
I think we need to differentiate the issues here very clearly. For the last 7 days, our borders have been open since the 29th of June. People have come in here in their thousands. In fact, as at the last count, there were 2 trucks which the health workers at Garcon snapped with human beings from epicenter coming into the state. And they asked, should we block the state? I said, no, the federal government has declared that all the interstate borders are open. So let the people come in. We are expecting cases in their numbers. We are expecting people have traveled. I have relatives that have left Lagos and come to Calabar. We have people who have traveled from Abuja into Calabar. So having a case or not having a case is not an issue at all. And the Cross River State government is happy and ready to announce any case. All we're asking is that things be done the right way and let's be on the same table. That's just simply it. We've told them, please give us this contact of this person. Write a formal letter to us and stating that this is their name, their phone number, their address. We would immediately swing into action and go find out these people and all of that. That's just all we want. It's not too much to ask. It's a response. And so we must be as scientific as possible. We must be as clear as possible. We can't just deal on the air without knowing people. You just said me names and then we expect, and this was done just via a transfer over a social media app. And we're just expected to decipher who they are, where they are, and all of that. That's not fair. And then based on the fact that this has not been uploaded, you go on a strike. Would that be fair to the people of Cross River State who you have sworn to help? Whether it's uploaded today or tomorrow, the main point is that are our people receiving care?
Just a minute. Let's bring back Dr. Ayuk on this one. Well, Dr. Ayuk, she says that at the moment that they're not aware of all of these cases, that there hasn't been any formal communication from the NMA to the state government. Is that the case?
Thank you very much. For respect for the office of the Commissioner for Health, I wouldn't want to join issues. We have tried as much as possible to be matured in the way we approach this matter. And it's very unfortunate. Yesterday, we were on a local radio program, Agba Jalingo program, and the Honorable Commissioner for Health said expressly that she has spoken with the patients that were, the contact tracing has started, that she has personally spoken with some of these patients. And now she's saying that contact numbers have not been sent to them. If I didn't know some of these patients, I would not join issues with her. But these are doctors, my members, who are currently recovering from COVID-19. There are people who work, who live and work in Calabar. They are health workers. So I don't want to join issues with her. But what we are simply saying, which is very simple, and which is within, we have said that if what we are asking for is done within a few hours, we'll call a meeting the next, because we don't want Koreans to suffer for nothing. But what we are having is a deliberate attempt to suppress testing and to suppress confirmation of cases in Cross River State. For whatever reason, we don't know. I'll give you an example. One of the reasons why NCDC, where we're insisting on independent test status for UCTH, is that that's the only institution we trust that can do the right thing right now, because trust has been betrayed. We had over so many samples collected. For example, one of the sample test results that was given to one of the patients, I think the family requested for the result of the wife requested for the result of the late husband, for not to make his name public. I'll call him AB. And a test result was written, test sample was taken on the 15th of June, 2020. And the signed result, which was signed for the Commissioner for Health on behalf which was signed by the state epidemiologist for the Commissioner for Health, has this EPID number / unique case ID, NIE CRS CAL 20039. NIE is the national identification, CRS is Cross River State, CAL is Calabar, 20 is the year, that is 2020, and 039 is the serial number that started from 001, that is for Calabar. So from the evidence they are also producing to us, for this particular patient, as at 15th June, we had 39 samples being collected from Calabar itself. And if you check out the NCDC situation report, as at 30th June, we only have 8 samples being sent for PCR testing. This is a very unethical practice. With this alone, we have lost trust in the ability of the Cross River State government to handle the issue of testing in the state.
All right.
Because that is the bedrock of successful management of cases.
Okay, Dr. Ayuk, Dr. Ayuk, pardon me, we need to get her to respond directly to some of those concerns and claims that you just highlighted. Well, Dr. Edu, first he says that you did say yesterday that you had personally spoken to some of those persons and that the epidemiologist signed those documents on behalf of Cross River State government. So could you respond to those two cases? Because if the epidemiologist is aware,
okay, so that is completely false, absolutely false. On the radio station yesterday, one of the names is a doctor who I know, and I have spoken to him on phone recently, I think about 3 or 4 days ago, and we had even attended a launch of our HIV SACA Global Fund project together. So he was the one who I reached across to. And he is the only person on that list who I know. The other names on that list, I cannot identify who they are. But without a formal letter, we went ahead to reach out to that doctor. Of course, when he says the epidemiology have signed any stuff like that, No single stuff have been signed by any epidemiologist. I'll ask him to put out whatever the epidemiologists have signed on these 5 persons in question and put it out for the world to see if such exists. Those
Dr.
are just falsehood, and I would not want to join issues.
What they're saying now is that Cross River State, by now, with all of this, ought to declare a COVID-19 positive case. Do you agree with that?
For goodness sake, we have started testing, and we are going to upload all our test results on the internet, and we will see the cases, those which are positive, those which are negative. They will all be up and out there. We have no business hiding anything. It's just a case of having people who have personal interest and are using a platform to project it. It's unfair to the people of Cross River State. It's unfair to them that for upload of a result, you go on strike to shut down all the doctors in Cross River State.
For the upload of a result, he says is for the, he says he used the word deceit in the way Cross River State government is handling the cases.
There's absolutely no deceit in anything. All of these are just made up. For goodness sake, we have all our files, we have all our documents, we have all our evidence available, and we can put them across to any quarters that will require.
Is the state going to call a meeting? Is the state going to call a meeting with the NMA to iron this out?
Oh, definitely, we would call a meeting. We would invite them for a meeting. As soon as possible, we would invite them for a meeting. We've also invited even the national to come in and see what is going on in Cross River State. The governor of Cross River State has invited them based on the recommendation of the COVID-19 response team in Cross River State. So we're happy to have them come. It's a transparent process. We have all our documents. I'm happy to share.
Okay, let me get Dr. Ayuk's quickly concluding thought. Dr. Ayuk, she says that, well, the state is going to reach out to the NMA. Would you be going for that meeting now? What would you be requesting, if at all you will?
If they want to invite us for a meeting, let them first send the EPI numbers to the 5 samples that have been confirmed. Once they do that, I think we'll be willing to come to the table with them. That is the first condition. It's a very simple matter.
Okay. All right, I'm afraid we just need to end it at that point. Well, you heard both of them there, Dr. Betta Edu, Commissioner for Health, Cross River State, as well as Dr. Agam Ayuk, the Chairman of the NMA, Cross River State. Thank you both for joining us today, and we hope that all of this is sorted. And the NCDC themselves, well, they did refer to NCDC a lot, so we're hoping that all of them will sort all of this out and not put anyone's life at risk. We will be back in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. Well, there's an all-COVID lineup today with Dr. Akiala Ishaku joining us from our studios in Abuja. He's a virologist. Well, we also do have Professor Cyril Otoyan, who is a professor of genetics at the Novena University, joining us from our studios in Benin. Gentlemen, thank you both for coming on today. Let me start with you, Dr. Akiala Ishaku. Well, it does appear there's controversy all the way, everywhere you turn about the situation with COVID, but many seem to have settled with perhaps the general perspective on this matter. So tell us then, from your perspective, in terms of how, yes, I don't know if you heard some part of what's going on in Cross River State, for those who still question the veracity, authenticity of all of this, how do you think, or why, or what's your impression first of this scenario as it is playing out?
Yeah, so thank you so much for the time, and thank you for inviting me to come over. It is so sad when I actually watched what was playing out in Cross River State. It's so sad, and so sad in the sense that I also expected that to happen. This is because in fighting pandemic like this, there are a lot of issues that come up. So there are a lot of crises. This also exposes our vulnerability in terms of our communication system, in terms of even the trust that we have. So if you carefully watch the NMA chairman of Cross River State and the Commissioner of Health, you will see that the underlying fulcrum to this is about trust. I think there is something hidden that we are not being told. But let me share my experience with you. I have supported states in Nigeria for this response. And what it is expected is that if you have a suspected case of COVID-19, what it is expected is that a state epidemiology issues what is referred to as an EPID number, which it is more like an identification number for the suspected case. And then samples have been collected, and then samples are taken to the lab. And then when they return positive, then the issues of contact tracing, issues of line listing, issues of condoling and cluster investigation, is being activated. In all honesty, Chamberlain, Cross River State is not COVID-19 free. There are a lot of cases that are positive in Cross River. The state should open a window for more testing so that we can move ahead from here.
What would you say then to, perhaps you could refer to them as conspiracy theorists, those who don't believe whatsoever that, look, there is indeed COVID by the way they approach things and the way they are going about things? We see them time and again.
Yeah, so you should expect that. So there are a lot of science is about facts. When you define, so you ask yourself, what is science? Science is about bringing facts to give results. So there are a lot of, science is not mythology. Science is not extrapolation. Science is not even in a layman consideration of a theology. Science is not about heresy. But science is about facts. So what you need to do is that you bring the facts before table. COVID-19 is real. It has been established that it is a viral infection. The first outbreak was in 2019 in a province of Wuhan in China. It has also been established that bats are the reservoir for this virus. It has also been established that this virus undergoes certain mutation and then they are being transmitted to humans. It has also been established that there is a human-to-human transmission. So science is about facts. It's about bringing into the table facts. So if anybody claims within the faculty of knowledge that it is not real, then he should tell us what is real. If in the palace of science, if you are coming to not to agree with a preposition or a postulation, you need to also come up with your own postulation and bring empirical evidence to establish that this is what I think it is not COVID, but this is what I think it is COVID. So coronavirus is real. WHO has declared that as an international public health emergency. If COVID-19 is not real, do you think, Chamberlain, that we are going to shut down exercise like Hajj and then close down? If COVID-19 is not real, do you think that aviation sector will be grounded and then they will lose over $200 billion US? Do you think if COVID-19 is not real, with the kind of case fatality rate we see, people dying in Italy, people dying in United States of America, people dying in the UK, people dying, high-profile individuals died of COVID-19 in Nigeria, and we still claim at this material time that COVID-19 is not real? So I agree. So we're in a field of science, in the faculty of science, in the palace of science. People can be able to bring their postulation with facts. Yesterday, I did a background check about Lancet and the Nature, a publishing company where they publish high-impact factor journals, scientific journals. There are over 700 journals in Nature that established the origin, the evolution of coronavirus, and how also did what we refer to as phylogenetic tree analysis to look at how molecular relatedness these viral strains are to other viruses in the world. In Nigeria, I am happy to announce to you that the African Center for Genomics, African Center for Excellence for Genomics of Infectious Disease at the Redeemer University, Ede, which is being chaired by Professor Christian Happy, actually did some genomic studies to establish whether COVID-19 is real in Nigeria. They have established that it is real. We have over 20 clusters.
All right, Dr. Shaku, just hang on a minute then. Apologies, hang on a minute. Let's bring in Professor Toya. He's a professor of genetics. Prof, given these established facts that Dr. Shaku reeled out, what do you think? You think something contrary about those positions that he has put out there about COVID?
Okay, see, I just said that I've been listening to him, and I wonder why he's sounding that way. If you look at what is happening in Calabar, it's quite expecting, because one, we can't say there is a disease outbreak in class of virus, and all you see are phony attempts and phony principles that will not even yield any results. We are saying you took a sample, and that sample you took it to a lab. The first question I even ask is, why would they collect a sample from Calabar and send it to Irua when there are universities in Calabar, and those universities have Department of Science or science-based courses? Are they telling me that they don't have labs? What did they do at Irua? All we have been told is PCR, and one of I think the medical doctor also mentioned it, I was listening to him, that PCR analysis, that's polymerase chain reaction. Polymerase chain reaction analysis can be done in Calabar. So why can't they bring whatever they are doing indoors, bring it outside? You say it's real, then show it to us that it's real. If you bring it out, we set a table, a flat table. Let every scientist be available. All the reagents we need are there. All the equipment are there. And the camera is before everybody. Then, let's see what COVID-19 really is, whether it exists. Because I have asked severally, let them bring somebody that is positive to COVID-19 and somebody that died of COVID-19. Carry out autopsy on the dead body. Show me exactly what you are calling COVID-19 inside the body. Or the one that is positive, what is it that is what that has affected the person? It's sounding as if it started from here. It did start from here. Even the developed world are already owing up to the truth in it. Fauci has been talking. Butcher has been talking. We listen to them. You discover that everything about COVID-19, as the trend is unfolding, is showing the fact that it's not even real at all. It does not exist. Because if, after all analysis being done, you now say, yes, this is COVID-19, it's a virus. And the first recommendation that was made in terms of treatment came from somebody who is not even a medical doctor and recommended chloroquine. I remember I went to a media house and I said, let's watch what will happen in the nearest future. That same person will retrieve that statement because chloroquine, I am not a pharmacist like I've said, but chloroquine or other drugs are made with active ingredients.
So sorry, pardon me to jump in here. Let me understand your point. Are you saying Dr. Anthony Fauci is saying that COVID-19, he's doubting the existence of COVID-19? Is that your point?
But he has not owned up to say we have identified COVID-19. Nobody in this world has identified what it is. Nobody. Find out. Get his number. Because it's a pandemic. The whole world is on a standstill because of something we cannot even isolate, something we have not even identified.
I thought you heard Dr. Ishaku reading out all of those established facts about the authenticity and existence of COVID-19.
Hey, let me point it clear here. What the other one mentioned is PCR analysis. Can you use PCR analysis to confirm a virus? Are they not scientists like we are? Scientists are meant to challenge each other. Then we come to a compromise. Can they use PCR analysis to confirm a virus? That's my question to them. If they are able to answer that question, then we'll
okay, Prof, just one moment. If you say coronavirus disease is not real, then what is it that is responsible for the pandemic that's caused lockdowns across more than 200 countries in the world?
Something that may shock the world. What is affecting the whole world is trading in virus. I classify it as trading in virus. Remember when the whole thing started, the first information that we're given were genetic information, and I caught them. I got the secret from them. I said, these people, they have come again. So because they came with genetic information, I was able to diagnose where they were going to, and I targeted them. I said, I will wait for them. So what were the informations given? If I may recall one or two quickly, we were told that that virus outside the body is a non-living thing. Inside the body is a living thing. And I ask, how does it now become a living thing when it enters the body? There are publications I saw online on Google. The painful thing is those publications were even on medical journals. And let me tell you that some of them of recent have been pulled down, more than 150 of those publications, who were describing a virus as non-existent outside
the body. They said it can survive for a certain period outside that. So, but in any case, let me bring Dr. Shaku to respond to some of the things you've said. Could you go ahead, Dr. Shaku?
Chamberlain, Kayode, and Ayo, with due respect to my senior colleague and an expert in genetics, I am quite disheartened. It's quite a sad reality for us to bring, because I'm not here to blab. I am here to talk science. I am here to profess science. And so if we are going to discuss science, let us discuss science. Let us not discuss myth. The COVID-19 has really exposed certain vulnerability of our health system and also exposed vulnerability of our educational system. And I think that the way to go in this country or in this continent is for us to have an overhaul of our university system. Because I did quickly a background check on Professor Cyril to actually see his contribution to knowledge and what he has added to the field of sciences and virology. I went to Google Scholar to just Google his name, which I queried Google, just simple. He has never published any work at all in virology. He has never published any work in any high impact factor journal. So I don't want to go into that, but let me also come back to say that the NCDC and African Center for Excellence for Infectious Disease at the Redeemer University in Ede, through the good works of Professor Christian Happy, were able to collect samples from Nigerians that tested positive to COVID-19, allow these samples to go through a lot of laboratory panel assay. It has been established that they are positive to COVID-19. Now, you don't test a virus, you test an antigen that is being produced by the virus, or you either test for an antibody that is produced against a virus that is an antigen. They moved ahead to also do what is called sequencing to actually see whether these viruses exist in our nation, whether these viruses are imported virus, whether these viruses relate, these strains of viruses relate with other strains of viruses in the UK, in the US, and they came up with 20 lineage of this viral strain. In fact, it was from their data that we quite established that there is an aggressive community transmission.
Okay, Dr. Shaku, pardon me, but we're winding down, so we need to bring in Prof on this matter as well. So, Prof, yes, I mean, the facts are there too. The check was also done by us, but concerning that contribution of knowledge to the body of knowledge and you not publishing anything, why that?
That's seriously laughable. I don't understand what he has used. Or I'm suspecting if he did not see any of my publication on Google, then that means they have pulled down all my publications, because they have even been pulling down all my comments and statements on COVID-19 from Google. Or even come on Facebook of recent. For those who have been following me, all my comments are damaged. So if he did not see anything, let him be informed that I was assessed as a professor and I have more than 121 publications across different areas of specialization that I have studied. And let me inform him too that outside Nigeria, I studied in Israel. I studied in a university in Israel, and I know what I'm talking about when I'm addressing issues of virus. I think there is need for him to look and take time to study some videos from Fauci and Buta, and take my videos, the first one in ITV in Benin, and compare it to what all of them have been saying. And it cannot be more knowledgeable than even persons like Fauci and Buta, because they are researchers in virus. They study virus.
All right, Prof. I'm afraid we're going to, completely out of time on this one. Really sorry about that. But gentlemen, we'll have to thank you both for coming on. Cyril Otonha, Professor of Genetics, Novena University, and Dr. Kiala Ishaku, virologist. Thank you both for talking to us today. We're back in a moment, everyone. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. Well, I'd like to remind you again, don't forget, get on your Twitter, your phone, wherever it is, and look for Sunrise 80 Now and vote. Because we do have a poll right there. Do you think it's safe to reopen schools? Well, look at those who have voted already and what their views are. Well, they're leaving a comment as well after voting. Nothing wrong with that, but just ensure that you vote so they can get your message and understand what you feel about reopening schools. And speaking about which, let's get across to bring some of the messages, the feedback coming from you. Alabi Michael sends in this message, having seen today's program, says, let's not gamble with the lives of these students. In other climes, artificial intelligence, robots, PPE, disinfection, high hygiene rules, and flexibility in learning are part of precautions employed before reopening of schools amid #COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, GQ is the name of this next user, saying NCDC is not helping issues in building public trust. A test that was done on Wednesday last week, as at today, Monday, the result is yet to be sent. In such situation, how do you expect the person to believe the outcome? Question.
Very, very instructive one there. Well, this one is from Yeda, Nigeria. It says, Cross River State Commissioner for Health is playing politics with doctors and Cross-Riverian lives. The earlier the state faces the reality, the better for all and sundry. Without testing, how do you know the number of indexed cases?
Well, Skinny Boo says schools should be reopened because the country is not under lockdown anymore. The risk of exposure is equally the same, either at home or in school. Appropriate and adequate safety measures should be observed. Thank you. That's from Skinny Boo.
Well, Skinny Boo, go and vote if you haven't. Look at Professor Imohena. Says Cross River State government and the NMA must shelve all these shenanigans and work together as a team. COVID-19 is real. I know people that have died in my neighborhood in London. Governor Ayade should please work with PTF for the sake of his people before it becomes calamitous.
Well, Kevin Affair, still on Cross River. Let Cross River State do the needful. If there are people with COVID-19 in your state, why dodge evidence?
Akintoye Benjamin writes in, if all the food are infected, will we still eat? No vaccine yet, but PPE can go a long way, and the face mask, the transparent one, can be made available as well as hand gloves. Ebola, Lassa fever are still at stake until we accept that this too shall pass. We may never move on.
Then. Okay, so there you go. That is the show today. Thank you all for watching. And don't forget to vote. We'll bring you the results, the outcome tomorrow. I know you may want to second guess. No problems. But we'll still bring it to you tomorrow. Thank you for watching. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
I'm Kayode Kikiole.
Do stay safe. I'm Ayo Makinde.
Be responsible out there. I'm Maokwe Ogunye, so thank you.